I am Feel It.
And I am Fix It. And we talk about life.
And stuff and things.
With the occasional rant.
Which you will have no problem doing.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good night. Whatever it is, when you're hearing this, we hope you're having a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that became a tradition. Holy crap. Okay.
Yeah, you're just running with it.
Yeah, might as well. Consistency, man. Consistency.
It is a beautiful, pleasant fall day. Fall evening.
Fall-ish.
Beautiful. Love it.
Yeah.
Much cooler, no humidity.
Yeah.
You can wear a sweatshirt.
Yeah,
cozy.
It's in the 60s. It's not bad.
Love it.
They're talking 90 this week, so, you know.
I know. Don't. Just
gotta
don't
enjoy it
talk
while I
about
can.
it. Don't talk about that.
Yeah, but 90 here is like 104 at work, so.
So.
Yeah, just saying.
Yes, but beautiful cloudless sky most of the day.
Yeah, it's nice. It is very nice.
We're just discussing this is a fire night for a fire, but you think that sounds like work.
It does sound like work.
And I respect that. So, throwing it out there.
Yep.
New seasonal allergies may or may not appreciate a fire, but, you know, it's that kind of night.
It certainly
It's
is.
definitely a cozy blanket,
Yes.
warm by the fire night.
Fuzzy sweatshirts and warm blanket kind of weather. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, yeah.
And speaking of such, as I had said, I had a topic in mind,
Mm-hmm.
and you've already gone there, whether you know it or not.
Yeah, okay.
Because I don't think I told you what I picked.
Nope.
Technically.
Nope.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go like a not prompted. Okay. You said some things the last episode, and it got me thinking.
I say a lot of things. You'll have to narrow it down.
You do say a lot of things. In regard to spooky season.
Mm-hmm.
Spooky season. And just now, just moments ago, you would not even acknowledge that it's fall. The beginning of September is fall. You won't even say that. I know everybody has their definitions and their things, and football being the marker, right? Back to school, just anything post Labor Day. But of course we are in Michigan. So as you said, you know, the 90 degrees that's coming again, even though it might be like 60 today. But anyway, what is that you're glancing at there, sir? I'll find out later.
Yes.
Okay.
In a bit.
Fine. Well, anyway, it got me thinking about discussing why our differing opinions about fall and spooky season, but why it matters to me.
Sure.
And it's kind of an odd topic, I know. Probably something you didn't even see coming, but not that you don't know the things, but I'd like to talk about it.
Sure.
And it is interesting how controversial fall is, and spooky season and Christmas, and how it all just jams together. And of course,
Yes, we were at the store today. You know, had to pick up a couple of things. And oh, look, the Lego Advent calendars are already out.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
no, we need to stop this. We
No,
need to,
it's actually just
we need to fight
worse.
it with kicking and screaming. Let's just do one holiday at a time, please.
Don't know if it's something we talked about or I talked about with somebody else that they'd seen Christmas stuff in the summer.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean,
Pumpkins have become a thing.
mm-hmm.
Everything pumpkin has become a thing.
Yeah, yes,
But I like pumpkin.
I know.
So,
I'm aware.
I know. I mean, I'm not like crazy giddy over every single pumpkin thing, but I do like pumpkin. So I want to back up and I want to talk a little bit about us and like how we were brought up. Some of those traditions are created and passed on, right? And some of our thought processes. So
Sure.
I don't know about you. I mean, I do know about you in a lot of ways, but so we grew pumpkins in our garden. We had a pretty large garden that we lived off of.
Yep.
And we grew them. So it was kind of nice, have that. And then
Your dad just didn't want to spend the $5 to buy one.
sure, whatever they might have cost at the time. That
Yeah,
would have been 100% true.
Seeds were super cheap. You can put them in the ground and you just leave them alone, throw some water at them once in a while, and And,
That would have been 100% true.
yes.
Yes. And we did, I recall, just to kind of summarize, we did live on the garden foods, and there was agreements. I wouldn't even say like co-ops or anything official, but like agreements with some locals and some friends that were farmers, and meat for veggies and that kind of stuff. And just there was that kind of relationship. But the vast majority of my childhood was hauling wood to heat the home.
Yep.
And tending to that garden, weeding it, watering it, looking for bugs,
And what was
debugging, fertilizing.
You got a job, and suddenly, they don't have time for the garden anymore.
And I was, well, sort of, even with the babysitting job in like middle school, yes, but high school was definitely, I was out. But, and so did my parents' income change and the need for it and that kind of stuff. But in regard to even the memories, the young memories of growing the pumpkins and carving them. But of course, I'm talking about that's Halloween, this fall, like the fall thing. So that whole cliche that like the air gets crisp and that kind of stuff.
Cold.
My experience was getting up for the bus to come really friggin' early. I mean, I'm talking like 6:30 in the morning to get on the bus because we lived on the county line. We lived the furthest you could get from our school, right, and still be in that school district.
Yep. Yeah, if you lived across the street.
Literally, it was not even a quarter mile across across north of where our home was another county and another district. So that's no joke. Like the air would get different, and we lived in northern Michigan, which is different than where we are. But like that, it's colder. There is frost. That was just a thing.
Yes.
And it happened so quickly. And it seemed like Labor Day was the marker, right? Like Labor Day would come. And of course, I'm going to date myself. The Jerry Lewis telethon.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Was it muscular dystrophy?
I think so, yes.
There were routines that were created within our home, which was, as far as harvesting, when Labor Day weekend was harvest weekend. Anything that could be was. There was the one really big harvest. So it was like a long weekend of tending to everything. Pressure cooking and freezing and you cut the corn off the cob and freezer bags and the stuff, right? So, and then at that time, nobody went back to school before Labor Day. That was just the thing.
Yes.
And then there was all kinds of like laws and regulations that got attached to it through time. But when I was growing up, and you too, that was not, you just didn't go back before Labor Day. It was within a few days after, usually like the Tuesday or Wednesday, like after Labor Day. So, and full days, by the way, full days of school, not this whole half day here and there and Fridays off thing. So there's the markers in memory, right, that I grew up with. That was what I knew. This was what you expected Labor Day weekend, and then you went back to school, and then you had the early morning waiting for the bus, and it was cold, and you watched the leaves change, and you saw the beauty of fall come daily. And we had a very long driveway, very long, off of the main road. We lived on a private drive. So, and then I took walks in the evening. Sure. There was that, tended to things outside, that kind of stuff. But that experience of the outdoorsy experiencing fall, my mother loved Halloween. That was her favorite next to Christmas. I'm not sure which one was actually her absolute favorite.
She had a lot of fun with Halloween.
And what you saw was even a reduced version. Her birthday was October 4th. So loved, loved, loved Halloween. It's kind of like a birthday month thing. And when Labor Day would come, get past that harvest time, and she would start cooking and baking all kinds of things. Just cookies for this and different desserts for that. And it was literally months of sweets and desserts and things. That was the like a traditional thing. And more so when I was younger, we didn't have much money, and the treat kind of replaced some of the candy. There were a lot of Halloweens that it was snowing.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
it was snowing. And then with my parents' work schedules and because of the distance we lived from town, we didn't just trick or treat.
Nope.
Like
Nope.
if they couldn't afford candy, we were giving baked goods. And
Yeah,
a lot of times they did try to give us candy, and we'd get, have candy from school because it was just, we celebrated it.
It was a thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And we would do costumes in some way, shape, or form, usually for school, and that's what we would have. So just, it's a very sentimental time of year, and with the loss of my mother, I realized so quickly, and I referred to this once already, that there's always going to be that bittersweet something that will exist. And it is better than it was in the first few years of her passing. I mean, she's been gone now, 9 years, just over 9 years. So that first Halloween, it was summer. I recall it well, walking into a Menards. This is, here's another, not yet our sponsor, plug for Menards. I walked into Menards for something, and they had those giant blow-ups. And it had to have been like end of July, beginning of August. I remember it was summer. And it just hit me. Just like a ton of bricks. I literally started bawling my eyes out. Standing in the middle of the store, I had people staring at me. Never once did anybody stop and ask me what was wrong. But I had some looks. And I just lost it. I realized that
Step away from the crazy lady.
right? And but we had spent months, cleaning out the home. My mother passed in April, and then getting ready to move my father closer to us. So we'd already spent, months cleaning out the home and going through the stuff. And a lot of the holiday things that I grew up with, like she used to go all out with the spider webs everywhere. And this was before like they did the lights and the stuff. Like now more it's like a decor thing. Like there's like full blown decor.
Sure.
That wasn't the thing. It was like homemade decorations, or it was the spider webs. It was a really big thing. She would have the dishes of candy corn. That was a really big one.
Mm-hmm.
So
much candy.
And the decorated cookies. Like she was all about decorating
For
the
the
cookies.
hardcore diabetics. So much candy.
Well, before she was a diabetic. I
So
wonder how she ended up there.
There's a reason why her pancreas quit. Okay.
Pancreas was like, I'm done with this.
Give up.
But that's when I started to accept, like, okay, there's going to be this bittersweet something with holidays, and those were the first holidays. The first holidays are the hardest. I always say that. It's true. You're a mess and you're a blur. There was already so much going on there with my father and taking care of him and realizing just how ill he really was and becoming his caregiver. Driving the 3.5 hours one way to get up there and then stay a few days. I'd go back and forth a few times a week. It was all just such a blur. I wasn't processing well, and then we moved him down in October, which was already full blown into spooky season.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, I'll give you that. Yeah,
it was an odd time to realize that the bittersweet, like the sentimental, I couldn't really stop and appreciate it for what it was. That grief muscle was learning how to react, but I wasn't fully letting it because life, like there was so many other things that we had to deal with. And those holidays were hard, and they were, my father being alone and then having him live in the home that he did. And it was just a beautiful home that he rented in a progressive care complex. They took very good care of him.
yes.
And nicest home he'd ever lived in.
Hands down.
Yeah. At least in his adult life. And it's funny how then we've also referenced like that Christmas where you let me put the tree up November 1st.
Yep.
And it was a completely Doctor Who tree. And we'll talk later about that, when Christmas comes. But it was like I needed to celebrate and I needed to find a way to do it that was different, but still honoring my mom. And I just was going through these strange feelings of like, my kids had just lost their everything, their Easter bunny, their tooth fairy, their Santa Claus. Their big candy giver, right? Because she'd put on the mask for them too.
Oh,
they were never afraid of masks.
No.
At all growing up.
No. Well, and
she had a ton of them.
She made a bottom drawer in her kitchen. It was just junk food for the girls.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know where the drawer is. Go get it.
Yeah.
It was,
oh yeah. That was it. That was real.
That was grandma. She was full on grandma at that point.
They lost it all.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going to replace that. And I was so desperate to...
Even if you could replace the things and the stuff, you can't replace that. It's
the grandma-ness.
Yeah, the grandma, because you're not the grandma.
And that my father wasn't her either.
I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah, that's down the road.
But that's down the road. Yeah.
And my father certainly wasn't it either. I mean, that wasn't who he was.
No, your dad was never the cuddly guy.
Never do I remember him participating in the things. Really. I mean, maybe once in a while he was in the car when we would go trick-or-treating. But often they did work. It was opposite shifts or what have you. And they did their best in that way. And my mother still did it all, whatever she could to make things special. So it's interesting how even by, the second year it comes around and then you feel the pangs and half of the year, great. I mean, it's bittersweet, right? There's the moments. She passed on Easter, which, yes, that might change every year, but I will always remember that. Yes. That will be embedded in my memory for as long as I am cognitive. And then that did get better over time, but then there was still this like strange hole of Labor Day to New Year's that was celebration for my mother. And it was special. And it was different. I mean, we might joke and we have mentioned like every summer holiday there had to be the food. Yeah. And it was always the food.
Yeah.
But there was something so different about Halloween and fall. And I don't know why that one, even more than Christmas, I don't know why that one still to this day hits me different. And that's why I'm good with spooky season being in August, but it took me a minute to get there, as you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Because it was painful. Mm-hmm. It was just painful for a while. And I still had kids that were young and there still needed to be celebration. There still needed to be moving forward. Even with all the stuff we were continuing to go through as a family, they were very well aware that they were missing all that my mother was, all that their grandma was. Mm-hmm. They were very well aware. And then my father passed the next year in November. So that, again, knowing he was ill and him going on hospice at the beginning of October, that was spooky season. So I had that anger and that frustration, feeling like I was getting robbed of another season, another time of celebration that I was trying to figure out. So I was going through some very weird stages the first few years. And then he did pass. It was Thanksgiving weekend that he did pass. And as you know, I had my moments where I talked about, let's just let every holiday get screwed up, shall we? But that was where I was. That was where I was. Mm-hmm. Because him passing in the middle of what was already hard to kind of maneuver through in a time of year, which I think many people kind of go through that same thing where they'll have lots of different celebrations. A lot of people have like the early Thanksgivings, the early Christmases.
Yeah.
The Christmas in July exists for a reason. It kind of became a thing, right? Yeah, okay. The media hooked onto it and like anything merchandising hooked onto it, but still.
Yep. Most definitely.
It's not just a Hallmark thing. I do actually, and we did when I was growing up, do a Christmas in July. For my grandparents that would go away to Texas.
Yeah, they weren't traveling they weren't coming up here in the winter. Forget that. I don't blame them.
Right?
Well, they lived in a camper. I definitely wouldn't want to. No, forget that.
No.
Northern Michigan in the winter in a camper. No,
they were typically gone by the end of September, beginning of October at the very latest, and that's why we would get through all the harvest time and whatnot with them. But it was special growing up. It was special well into my adulthood. And though she didn't maybe decorate the same, and over time she had enough natural cobwebs with her hoarding tendencies, which that's another day's conversation. That is why it was special to her. It was special. It was her thing. Even to the last season that she was alive. And I knew by Christmas she was not well. There were plenty of signs, even if nobody put it all together, that my father, being in the hospital most of that October, he was about 3 weeks, in the first 3 weeks of October. And I remember we went up there on Halloween. And my mother worked, of course, so she could go and she could hand out candy. She handed out candy nearly every year of the 21 years, I think it was, 21 or 22 years that she worked for the public school system. She was a custodian.
And she would dress to the nines every chance she got. Yep.
She did. And she would go around to the schools and she'd hand out candy. And of course, as time progressed, there became more limitations and rules and whatnot. And Lord, I don't know what she'd do nowadays with the allergies, but,
she'd have 3 bags, one for people. It's like these allergies. It's like, okay, which allergy do you not have? Okay, here you go, that bag.
But going to see my dad, and they were all just exhausted. I mean, we could see that they were exhausted, but my mom still made it special for the kids because we didn't take them trick or treating. The weather was miserable, and they were young, but they still got all kinds of candy and cookies and stuff. She always made sure.
And spooky movies.
Addams Family.
Oh, yeah.
Our tradition of showing them the original black and white Addams Family came.
Yep.
That was just something you and I decided we were trying to find the traditions and the things to make it special and memorable. And we decided that was safe. Yep. And they love it. They love it to this day.
Heck yeah. It was beautifully done. In many, many levels, it was beautifully done.
And when we made the choice, you were not raised to trick or treat.
I mean, we did. I did. But I don't know. A lot of it, the appeal just.
Well, I thought it was Harvest Party.
Well, no, they did some. The church did some of that, and then the kids at church, we'd get together and we'd, as a group, and trick or treat.
In a very tiny town.
Yeah. But you knew everybody. So, it was, well, because you're familiar with almost everybody. And I don't know. Well, actually, the town hall was literally behind my house growing up. And for a really long time, they did a big trick or treat Halloween thing in there. They turned that whole gymnasium into a carnival for little kids, and they put a haunted house up on the stage, and had you walk through and crawl through the stage stuff, and there was a lot of that when we were little, and it just lost a lot of its appeal. I mean, yeah, what kid doesn't say, oh, free junk food, awesome, okay, but I don't know. It wasn't really a thing that really lit me up. Even it's like by the time I was 10, 11, I was never mind. It's like I could do other things.
In many years,
I got good at scaring other kids on Halloween. You could do a little setup work, and you could scare the crap out of little kids. The joke was always, if you scare them bad enough, they'll drop their candy and run, and you can save all the trick-or-treating and let them do the legwork.
Wow. I could see that.
Didn't, but, it's like, thought about
But
it.
from what we've known of each other, decades,
Yes.
we had very different ways of celebrating.
Sure, yeah.
And then when it came time for our children, like figuring out what to do for its best, and there were many years that we'd taken like the downtown trick-or-treating where we lived because it was safe. In a city nearby.
Yeah, took him to a trunk or treat or two.
Yep. And then eventually moving down here, we ended up doing years several years of just being involved in a church and whatever
Yep.
they had done. So again, our children have always known something party-esque or servant, as even they got a little bit older, or servant oriented, but the candy and the celebration was still there in a different way.
Yeah.
And it's taken me now several years. I mean, on and off. A few years ago, I decided to buy some Halloween decorations, and then, which I had not done.
Nope.
And remember the ghost garland?
Yes.
Ghost garland that didn't end up coming down, and then we turned it into a Christmas decoration.
Yes. We only kind of left it up and just ran with it.
Yeah.
The ghosts of Christmas past.
Yep. That's what we ended up calling
was
it.
the joke. There was the Artex painted haunted house wall hanging
Yeah.
that your mom had.
Yeah, she made that
And
before I
then
was born.
We couldn't find it. It disappeared.
She said that and I do remember asking her about it, because, I mean, that had not been up since I was a child. My kids never saw it.
Well, the thing is, I remember seeing it.
But by the time we had children, it wasn't something she hung up.
It was gone, yeah.
And she had said it had gotten moldy, and she just got rid of it.
Yeah, and
which
then
made me sad.
I was able to track one down, and whoever painted it nearly identically to your mom.
Yeah.
So your mom followed the instructions, which is amazing.
Kind of funny. But
that
was the first thing I bought.
Yeah. Where
I said, I want that because of what it is.
Well, and you mentioned, I remember you mentioned it, and I started looking. It's like, and I found it. I found one, and I okay, well, I'm going to pay some money for this, but I'm going to pay. And
God bless technology and merchandising.
Thank God for eBay, man.
Right, right.
It's like you find that weird stuff, but it's like, it was a thing for you. It's still a thing for you. It's like, you want to put up Halloween decorations? Okay, fine. I'm not.
It took a few years.
I mean, I'm not.
Christmas wasn't it was difficult in its own way, but again, we'll talk about that later. Halloween, I don't know what, even next to Christmas, I don't know what it was that no matter how broke we were, no matter how awful it was that the weather was going to be, or my parents' work schedules, and they never wanted to try to, disappoint us. She would try to bring the joy in whatever costumes she had to try to make, or how to try to figure out how to buy them. Whatever it is that she had to figure out, there was a joy in it.
Yes.
And
I got decent at making costumes.
You did.
Yeah.
Because we went through our times.
Yes.
But there's something about having that was protected of all the misery.
It was
all the awful.
Yeah. It was something your mom enjoyed.
She did.
So she wanted to make sure you enjoyed it too.
And then she tried to make sure our daughters did as well. And they were the only grandchildren around for a while. There was eventually another grandchild, but they were it.
And then
for
we moved
several
into town,
years,
and that made your mom so dang happy.
Yes,
because she could sit in that front door and just hand out candy.
1 year she got to do that.
Oh yeah, she was
1 year.
all smiles.
Yes, before we moved down here, we lived in a home in town, in northern Michigan, in a town, and she loved that.
Yes.
We took the girls out, to do a thing while she sat at our house
and just handed out candy. Yep. Having a good old time.
I don't know what it even was for her, and I wished I would have asked. I wished I would have had that conversation to know why it was so special to her, and why it had become a thing. I got some guesses just from time and prayer and thought processes and healing. But it was something. It's something that the first 2 years were hard. A lot of anger, a lot of feelings. And then a few years ago, yes, you bought me that. It was about halfway. I'd say a few years after. You ended up buying me that. And that was the only decoration we had. It was that wall hanging.
More or less, yeah.
And we had a bigger house, and I wasn't in a place to even...
No.
I never did really decorate.
No.
And then we moved here.
Yep.
And I wanted to try more. And it was a little bit harder, I guess, again, acceptance and wax and wane and the grieving process. And then what? Because as it turns out, we had neighbors tell us that the previous owners went to the nines and how they decorated for Halloween.
Yeah, they were the Halloween house of the block.
So we had people asking us what we were going to do.
Which when we did when we viewed the house, they had a skeleton gnome in the living room.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. So it's kind of I can see it. Yeah.
So it's just not where we were. It wasn't the mindset. I wasn't ready to try to do different traditions.
Sure.
We were kind of where we were, and it was comfortable enough. A few years ago, I bought that garland, ended up leaving it up because it was just a weird, rough. It was just weird and rough.
Mm-hmm.
And it got weirder and rougher. And then, actually that was last year. Sorry. It was last year, wasn't it? Because then we ran right into me feeling like hell. I'm going to use that word. That just exploded in every way, shape, and form. I was just kind of, not last year, I apologize, the year prior. It was 2 years ago. Sorry, almost 2 years ago. I had to stop and think about that for a second. Last year was different. Last year I was completely miserable with the kidney issues. And our previous pastors had left the church. The ones that we were with for
a while.
12 years.
Yeah.
I believe 12 before they left. And there was nothing at the church that we were attending. There was no celebration.
No.
So it was strange.
It was kind of disappointing for
the entire community.
A lot of people. Yeah.
Yep. That's its own thing.
Because they did a huge, before we started going there, they had the huge, harvest party,
Mm-hmm.
where they'd open the doors up and they'd set up games and all kinds of stuff and let kids run around and just contests and candy and prizes and all kinds of stuff. And they did that for years. And then when COVID hit, they're like, we have no idea what we're going to do. And what's the name? Feed America. Is Feed America?
Feed America.
Yeah, Feed America. Anybody that doesn't know what that is, look them up.
Absolutely amazing ministry.
It's amazing. Effectively, it's food to people who need it at no cost. It's like they hook up with often churches, and it's like once every couple of months, a semi truck shows up with a bunch of food, and then people just show up, and here you go, here's your food. And the way they were doing it, the people were getting their bags and they were going and picking out the stuff that they wanted. And then COVID hit. It's like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? We still want to help people. People need help more than ever. And somebody had the idea of have everybody just stay in their car and we'll set up the food at different tables. And if they want it, we'll have somebody at that table wearing masks, wearing gloves, and we'll just put it directly into their trunk. And so they just drive from one station to the next, just go all the way down to the end of the parking lot, turn around and come back out. And then when they hit the other end of the parking lot, they had everything that they had a chance that they wanted. They had it and they just go. And that worked out really well for them. And they were talking about, they were kind of disappointed they didn't have any idea of how to do that for Halloween. And I kind of made the comment, it's like, well, that thing you did for Feed America, do that. Instead of a trunk or treat, have the people stay in their cars. They can leave the windows up, and it's like we can just people in masks because it was required. People wearing gloves, not touching the food or touching the candy. We had people gloved and masked, bagging candy for weeks, getting it all ready. So it was all prepackaged and ready to go, and they would just drive through to different stations and
Candyland,
and we effectively built
called it
the Land of Candy. They called it the Land of Candy,
yes.
And it was kind of a Candyland board game theme.
Yeah.
And people in costumes, and they dressed up the different sets, and we got other churches involved. And it worked beautifully. It worked really well. There was no chaos. And we were one of the few places that had something going on. So there were...
For 2 years. We did that for 2 years.
Hundreds of people came through, and it became its own thing.
2 or 3 years? A few.
They did at least 3 or 4 years.
It was 3. Yeah, I think it was 3.
And it was it worked great, and it got bigger every year. And then the former pastor retired,
mm-hmm.
and the new pastor came on, and we told him about the tradition of doing this kind of stuff.
He didn't know.
And he just decided we're not doing it this year.
Yeah.
Which.
So last year was the first year in, I couldn't tell you how many.
Over a decade. Where nothing.
At least 12, 11? I'd have to do the math.
Yep.
Many.
Yes.
That we did nothing. So we sat at home.
Yep.
And had the lights off and only gave candy to our neighbors' daughters.
Yeah, because
that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. That was all we had. We didn't buy any. We weren't prepared.
But in a lot of ways, though.
I wasn't well.
No.
So it was really just a strange, it wasn't the norm of what we'd even been trying to build and do to actually feel like it was a celebration and some joy in it. It was odd. Last year was odd. So I said, okay, this year. And we've been talking about it. We've been talking about it since the summer. I talked to the neighbors even about it. Like, hey, because I have no idea. We've never been here. How many kids actually come through here? And to become part of the Teal Pumpkin Project, which is where you have allergen-free options. Like not candy, basically, usually. And
yeah, it was the crappiest Halloween ever. Here you go, carrots.
I was thinking toys, but
here's carrots.
Something was different this year where I actually contemplated. I don't know if you realize this. This is the first time we're having this conversation on this episode. I don't know if you realize this is actually the first year where I have talked about doing something in this home.
Yes.
Not for a church, not for an organization.
Yep.
Something for us.
Mm-hmm.
I did put up most of the decorations yesterday and today. Our youngest helped us.
Sure.
Not quite done yet.
Nope.
Got the creepy shower curtain to go up and some lights and a giant spider web. Oh, and more ghost garland. Because I think the ghost garland ended up with the Christmas stuff.
It's entirely possible.
I think happened.
It's entirely possible. Well, and you have Frankenstein. You
I
put them out in the living room.
Several Frankensteins.
Where where he's visible.
But it's not. It's an odd word to use. The joy of Halloween. It's the joy of remembering my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I have felt a little more nostalgic the last few weeks than I have in a while, which again, that comes and goes. And it usually is stronger, right, as fall approaches, because there's, as we were saying, the definition that everybody has, in my, the world of my adolescent clients who are involved in sports, there's this, it's a busy hubbub time, right? You got every weekend there's something. If a kid's in band, there's a week, fall is busy. Fall is crazy. And it is such a beautiful time of year that God had made this beautiful effect.
Oh yeah.
Before it dies to become new again. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I've never said it wasn't pretty.
We had the blessing to live in an area that people flock to.
Yes.
Spend the money to flock to see the beauty.
Yes.
I took that for granted. I 100% took that for granted.
Middle part of October, Valley Road, just driving through that wooded section through the S curves, it's absolutely freaking gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous.
I
doubt that's changed.
Oh, I guarantee it hasn't. Yeah. See,
I know. You think it's all too soon and you don't like the words.
Well, it's too soon. You
don't like spooky season. You don't like pumpkin.
No.
You don't like fall.
No, not particularly. Not that I don't think it's gorgeous and it's kind of nice to not be, it's like when you're talking 70, 80% humidity, it's just miserable. It's like, even if it's cooler and it's 80% humidity, it's still miserable. But Halloween was never, I'm like, okay, it's kind of fun. You got a night of being stupid with your friends. Okay, fine, whatever.
It wasn't Halloween.
Yeah, I know.
It was my mom.
I know. And I get that, and I can appreciate that. But it's like when I was younger, fall just meant that my life was going to get way less interesting.
You lived outside.
I lived outside.
And you liked it.
And once it's like I lived on my bike or at the playground that was like a block away from my house. It was like I said, the town hall was behind my house, and across the street from the town hall was the school and the playground that I spent many, many years of my life. And it just meant that, like, okay, my bike's getting put away, and then it's going to get cold, and I won't be able to go out and play, and I won't be able to see my few friends except at school. And yeah, like, it sucks.
And then now we know it does mean winter and snow tires and stuff.
But still. And now it's like, oh, hey, yeah, fall's coming. Great. I get to fill up a 96-gallon trash can 6 times with leaves.
You know, we don't have one tree on our property.
Well, yeah, we don't have
We thought that was going to be good, right?
Oh, it was awesome.
Then we had the fence put up.
Then because we have
knew
dogs.
Right away.
Yep.
What we had just done to ourselves.
Yes.
With the giant maple tree next door.
Yeah. With where we are, and we have a service that does trash and recycling and yard waste, organic yard waste. And it's a 96-gallon trash can that I pack full multiple times. And last year, I want to say there was like 20 bags of leaves on top of that.
But you know what's wild?
And it's all crap I got to take. It's crap I got to deal with.
But what's wild is there's been more than 1 year in the 6 years we've been here that we're doing those leaves into December.
Yes.
Without them being covered in snow.
Well, last year, the leaves didn't really start coming off the tree until like 2 weeks before the last day of leaf pickup.
I think that was the year before.
Or maybe it was.
It's been a weird couple years.
Yeah, it's been very strange.
We're for us and the weather.
Yeah.
But it is, you're right. You went to the negative stuff.
Well, no,
your brain.
It's not necessarily.
It's lifelong. It's a lifelong thing.
It means something different to me than you. To me, it's there's a whole crap load of work that I got to do, and the stuff I enjoy disappears.
Oh, I was 100% traumatized by harvesting. It was exhausting. I hated it. I never looked forward to it. I did not have pleasant summers, as you know.
Yep.
And as I got older, there was just more.
I enjoy doing the wood part of it. I always enjoyed that part. I was like, let's go.
Oh, God.
Let's tear it up in the woods. Let's go. I will happily tear it up in the woods. Let's go tear it up in the woods.
And then there was just more that seemed to be tacked on to it. Because by the time I hit middle school and I could babysit, there was that expectation plus, right? And then high school, yes. Mm-hmm. I got a job. But then there was still the expectation of helping, and I did my best. But by then, the need had changed, the income had changed. Enough had changed that it wasn't such a huge reliance on the garden to actually feed us as a family. To be fair, it had gone down quite a bit. It didn't mean that there wasn't still some, because there was. It just wasn't as large, and it wasn't as required, I guess you'd say. Things had changed over time. In the wood, yeah, that was well into my adult years, and that got handled differently over time.
Well, yeah, but your dad had the heart attack, and he couldn't do it anymore, so he found an alternative way of doing it, and me and a couple of my friends, we did on Labor Day weekend what it took your dad and his dad and both of you and your sister all summer.
And my brother. My brother did help while he was present.
When he was present.
Yeah.
Which was never any of the times that I was out there with you.
It was the summer. Yeah. Oh, no. Well, by then he was gone.
Yeah.
I'm talking about growing up.
Yeah. But I never saw it. So there's that. But, yeah, and we did it in a weekend. But
yeah, you did. We called it a wood hauling party, and it was
we had the wood hauling party, and
it was an event.
We had 5 chainsaws that 2 of us were running nonstop for 2 days.
Dad would get the giant pile of trees delivered. And...
Yep, he'd get all the stuff that the loggers couldn't sell because it was too small.
See, I grew up in acreage.
Yep.
Not only did they take it off of their own acreage, but then the neighbors had also provided permission.
Yep.
So through the years, it was all coming out of, these 30 to 40 acres of woods.
Yep. Anything that came down, it was fair game.
And it was a hassle. It was awful to get the tractor and trailer in and out. It was just bleh. So for me, it was kind of an opposite-ish, because Labor Day meant less work. That was done because the goal was always to have it done all by then. Like, that was the thing. The gardening was done, the wood was done, and Grandma and Grandpa would leave. And winter came earlier than what we have become accustomed to here.
Ain't that the truth?
And you know that because you just mentioned it. Like, you knew that your bike riding days were done.
Yep.
Whereas here, man, you could probably just bike ride right on up until at least Christmas. Most years we've been down here.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
There's just nowhere to go. Nowhere I enjoy riding exists in this area.
But it was, my point to all of it is that I wanted to address, so when I say like the spooky season, and you hear us go back and forth, and it's cute.
Yeah.
I know that he has this thing with spooky season, but it is something special to me. And this year, for the first time in 9 years, I would say that I'm comfortable with finding a way to celebrate it again for us. Not just being involved at church, though that was fun stuff and good times, and loved to miss those people in those times.
Yeah.
But
I think for me, it was always work.
it's where it was.
And not that that's
But it was
necessarily a
fun.
bad thing, but it's like
But it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, but it was also a lot of work. The enjoyment was knowing it was done and done well. You know, it's like, how many people we have through? Oh, 372 people came through.
I was the counter at the end.
And it's like,
I was the counter at the end with pastors.
That is freaking awesome.
I got to do that.
But it's like, I had to, for me, it was like, I had to find how to get power to like 20 different stations. And that had to be in place before they could set their stations up. That was me.
Well, then even when we were inside, there was work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, we'd run the games.
It was way less work, actually, on the inside. And then, I got to run sound, and I got to set the sound system up, and the sound system kept failing every year, and I had to find a new way of making it work. And then when it's all done, I got to get all the power torn back down and make sure all that stuff goes where it needs to go before we leave, and I got to get the sound system broke back down, and who needs help with it? It's like, so for me, it's always... For me, it's stressful. Even if I enjoy it, it's still a pile of stress. And I'm glad it's over.
And you're talking about one event that was Halloween.
Well,
I'm talking about the months. There was months of a lifestyle. It's not that when we get older, we know things change, clearly.
Yeah. Everything changes.
And it did change from my childhood to my adulthood to watching my mother with my children. But there was still celebration. No matter what, she handed out that candy at the school, and she would decorate at school. She'd decorate at home.
Yes.
It was a thing.
Yes, it was.
I will forever have like the embedded attached things. And it's taken me this long to genuinely be okay. I have my pangs. Yes, I feel the things. But it's not like the hot stove. You feel it, you take your hand off, right? Like it's warm, and it's warm enough to touch, and I can do it. I don't know what it's supposed to look like. We don't have grandkids.
There is no supposed.
Like we have adult kids, and
there's no supposed. It's, you figure it out.
I've had family. I have one aunt that's told me a few times, several really over the last several years. When I would tell her, like, it's not that you don't care. You just don't know how to care. You don't know how to move forward. I didn't know how to move forward. I think we did the best we could, and we still gave them good times and good memories. And
sure.
Yeah, a lot of those were attached to church, but they had friends and they had fun, and it's their memories too.
I want to make sure that was a good time. That was,
and especially when there wasn't anything else, right? Yeah. Because after my mom, there wasn't anything else.
Yeah.
But when she'd say to me, and she still says, it'll be different when you have grandkids. I understood what she was saying. Now, for whatever reason, whether that dial's just turned enough further, that I feel like I really understand what she was saying. Like it's a process, and it's a mindset, and no we don't have grandkids. We don't
Nope.
have any on the way.
Nope.
But we have adult children. They have their own thoughts and feelings and all the stuff. And when I'm talking about buying and handing out candy, and they're like, we got one saying that sounds fun. Do we have to dress up? And then the other one saying, "Hey, I'm going to work. I'm going to find a way to work." And then I would have to arrange then to take a little time off, a few hours off work. But it just, I don't know why this year. I don't know why finally this year. Even to spend the money on candy. Of all the things to spend the money on. I mean, here I am when I starting a keto diet. I don't need candy. I don't eat a lot of candy anyway. It really depends on the candy. I have a soft spot for Reese's, but I don't do chewy and gummy and all that stuff. But with the cost of everything right now, for real, candy, you didn't even say that. You have not once even said that.
No.
So I know you're on board with me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's supposed to look like. We were talking about that today. Are we our dog would go crazy? Do we somebody just sit outside and be ready to hand it out, or do we actually have them come to the door?
That'd be really boring. For
sitting
somebody.
outside?
Yeah.
But then you see all these people with these fun things that they do, a whole thing that they'll set up in their yard. And I don't know if I'm ready to go that far, but I would. I could see it someday. I could see that. I could see being grandma. I want to be called grandmama. We've had that conversation. I've said that forever. I want to be called grandmama. Adam's family. And now our daughter's sweet friend that has a baby and having another.
Or 0.05.
We've discussed that with her, and she knows that, and that's the joke that we have, grandmama. It's a funny shift to have, to even contemplate the idea of buying the candy and handing it out and going through that process to be prepared, but then even to consider decorating outside, to consider doing anything. It's a weird shift, and it feels like a fog has lessened. I'm not saying gone. I'm not saying lifted. I'm saying lessened. It's decreased enough that I could actually foresee that. I could foresee that being what I do, and hoping that my grandkids live nearby and they could see that. But I might just end up doing it anyway.
Well, they're not going to have a choice.
For funsies.
They're going to be, I don't care.
You're not going to have a choice.
Nope.
I see some really fun decorated yards, and I know the blow-ups are a thing now, and I'm like, blow-ups,
Unless you got 50 of them, it's just kind of...
But we were involved in haunted house stuff,
yeah.
and
Yep.
And that wasn't even... I was a lot younger.
Mm-hmm.
I was an adult. Well, no, we'd gone to haunted houses when we were dating, too. I don't know. Horror and scare isn't really my thing. Not really.
Not really, no.
We would go to, be supportive, usually, of a friend.
Yeah, often because we knew people that worked
right?
with them. Yeah.
It wasn't... And then our kids haven't really done scare. They don't... our oldest is more into scare. That took her a minute, too.
And at the same
time... We
time,
probably should find a haunted house, actually,
probably,
to take her to this year.
She's found the joy in a little bit of fear, which is good.
She, too, doesn't like the over-the-top.
No.
She doesn't care for the over-the-top.
No.
But it's a funny mindset that I found myself in. As spooky season... When the Halloween baking championship shows are on, that, they're not the current year, they're the previous years.
Yeah.
But it's time.
Yeah, they're prepping for when actual spooky season actually starts. Yes.
I saw Scrooged on this morning on a channel, okay? So don't.
No, I'm saying that's wrong too. That is not right. That should not happen.
I have one pumpkin thing in my office. One. I don't even remember what it says, but it was at the dollar store. It was just a cute little thing. One. I also want to be respectful because not everyone is comfortable with Halloween. It's not Halloween, it was pumpkin. But, just a spooky season, fall, pumpkin, apple cider. You got your apple cider caramel apple cider drink last weekend.
Yeah.
We went and got you that.
Yeah.
Like, there's things that you like.
You can get cider all year round because cider is awesome. You can only get pumpkin spice a short period of time throughout the year because the rest of the time you realize this is actually kind of gross.
There's the wines, like the specialty wines that'll be out during, Halloween. Ugh. I mean, a few of them were okay.
If it was good, it'd be available all year round.
That's off the table now. That's just not even. That's not even happening.
It's gross. Sorry, it's just gross.
There's things that are just. They are fall. They are Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
That is. You'll only buy them that time of year. You'll only see them. You only have that experience.
And again, if they were good, if they were really good, they'd always be selling.
No, sweetie, it's merchandising. It's marketing.
If they could sell it all year round, they would be selling it all year round.
Fun ploy. Because not everybody's into it.
Well, it's kind of like the McRib. Yeah, no, it's kind of like
careful
the
now.
No, it's kind of like the McRib. There's a reason why if at one point they had it in the stores all the time and they never sold them. It's like because they're really kind of nasty.
McRib.
But the people that loved them missed it, so they bring it back for like a month a year. And they sell a crap ton of them. And then when it starts to taper off, because people was like, oh yeah, these are gross, they stop selling it again. And they create that longing for that thing because you kind of remember it being better than it was. Like everything pumpkin spice.
Like everything pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But apple cider you can get
that.
all year round because apple cider is never not awesome.
Pumpkin spice is awesome.
No.
Mm-mm.
And you were asking what I was looking up.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm ready.
Here's what I looked up. All right.
What did you look up?
Okay. The autumnal equinox for the northern hemisphere and the first day of fall begins on the same day at 8:44 a.m. Sunday, September 22nd.
Why can't you just admit you're wrong?
So fall.
Why can't you just admit you're wrong? It's
fall.
It's fall.
Fall starts officially September 22nd.
We're
We're still summer.
You just
This is
can't
summer.
handle being wrong on
This
one.
is summer. Here you go. Here, the official start of fall is September 22nd.
You're just not.
That's 2 more weeks.
You're just not going to let me have this one, and that's fine.
2 more
you
weeks.
don't need to let me have this one. You just have to be right. You have to feel like you're right.
When I'm right. When the facts say
fall.
that I'm correct.
It's fall.
I'm correct.
No. Nope, it's fall.
It's like, yeah, argue with the facts. Sorry. Like,
You're being ridiculous.
I'm being you're
I'm trying to talk about like grief and nostalgia.
You're demanding that I acknowledge the fact that it's something that it isn't.
That was something I hit. Just usually you're wondering he's not trying to hit me with things. That was something my chair hit.
Yeah, it was the printer.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You are being ridiculous.
I'm being ridiculous.
Yes, you are.
Thing is, I'm at a point in my life where I am tired of everything being hurried up. I don't want it.
It's just sooner. It's just
exactly. It's
just
hurry.
nice.
Everybody's in a freaking hurry. Calm the heck down.
It's just nice. You want a longer fall. You want a longer season. So you say it starts sooner. Just like my mother.
When you start it sooner, it
cooking
doesn't
the Halloween cookies in September.
So
she could eat them longer.
So she could run out of them and have to bake more.
It's just a thing.
Oh, these aren't going to be good by Halloween. I'll have to make more.
I don't know if she ever said that.
She might not have said it out loud, but that's her thought process.
Some people just extend it because it's you want that feeling longer.
Yeah,
it's not about hurrying it.
No, it's hurrying it along. It's like when Christmas is in
marketing, they want the money.
September. Yeah, they want the money.
But a person, for what I am describing,
yes,
it's a feeling. It is
and the feelings I have associated with fall are not things that I want to make last longer.
See, so you've got to shut it down in your way, and I get it.
It's like you want to enjoy.
You gotta let me have mine.
You have a blast. And I will
doing what?
I will go along with it to a point, but there comes a point where it's like
Well, you're letting me put up the murder shower curtain.
I'm kind of over it because I still think that's funny. But it's a bloody shower curtain that has bloody handprints. It says "Help me," written in blood. It's funny. There is a matching bath mat
I've seen it. Yeah.
that we don't have that
No.
is hysterical to people. If as an outsider, if you don't tell somebody you have it, because when water gets on it, it goes from being white to red, so it looks like whatever. It looks like bloody footprints and drips on the ground.
One of these days.
And that's also pretty freaking funny. But
And I'm not talking about the morbid side and the I guess you'd say more evil side
yeah,
to Halloween.
death-
I'm not
yeah,
talking about that. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about just the candy and the cider and the smells and the crisp air and the leaves changing and yes, more Halloween shows beyond like Addams Family. And now, okay, Roku. If only those things were a thing years ago, even like channels of this stuff, like the old school shows. Our daughters over the years have sat and watched The Middle, like all the Halloween episodes of The Middle, or The Office, Parks and Rec. I'm sure there's others, but those are the ones coming to me. But that's fun stuff. Like, and when they were growing up, you turn on the Peanuts cartoons.
Yes.
For them.
Yes.
Like every holiday, the significance of the Peanut cartoon. Like it would be there, man.
Yes.
It's a great punk from Charlie Brown.
Yes.
That would happen.
Yes, it would.
They know those references.
Yes, they do.
Because we had them watch it many times.
Because we're awesome.
Yes, many times. Not trying, it's just not trying to date myself entirely, but I know I have. But it's nostalgia. Now there's entire Roku channels devoted to having
yes.
all the nostalgia stuff.
Yep.
We were just talking this morning. There was one. I kept coming across that on Amazon Prime, and I would go to watch a show, and I'd be like, "But you can get it with this." And I was like, "What is this new app? What is this thing? I don't want to pay more money to watch this thing. I already paid for Amazon." And we looked it up, and it was literally an entire channel of like crappy horror movies.
Yeah, it was effectively the cheesy, nostalgic, campy movies. Just that's the whole theme of the channel.
And being advertised now heavily the beginning of September.
Yes.
Yes.
Hardcore. Yes.
We were at Menards last week. Halloween was everywhere.
Everywhere.
It was everywhere. It was there before that, but it was comical last week.
It was kind of funny. Yeah.
The guy making in the comments about the Frankenstein blow up, and I think that'd be amazing. It's kind of cheesy. I don't want a cheesy one, but Frankenstein's just a thing for us. And to summarize that, you know what? I'm going to go there and summarize that one because it's a Halloween thing. I believe we have discussed it a little bit already, but when I had my brain surgery and I have my scar in the back of my head. Well, I also have a scar above my my left eye from an accident when I was a child. And there's another scar on my cheek from an accident when I was a child. And so you have these scars, right? And then there was the jokes about putting me back together, like Frankenstein. And it became Frank and April. It was just kind of a joke. It became a joke, but it's a thing. It's a thing that we say now. And I've had several more surgeries since, so I'm scarred up.
Yep.
And I remember when I was like moving funny and you would make a couple jokes about that. Like,
yeah.
It was
happened,
like, it's the joke. It's the Frankenstein joke that has lasted and it will last. And it's kind of my thing. So now I have Frankenstein, the pop funk, a couple different versions. I have a couple in my office, little plushies, and it's just a joke. It's a joke that we've had. The old nostalgia one, the Boris Karloff.
Yep.
I have that statue. So again, it's the fun to have with it that has increased for me. And my point of bringing this up, even so early in the fall.
That doesn't start for 2 more weeks. It's kind of like it's a Michigan.
Your tism is so ridiculous.
It's like Michigan's pre-winter and sort of summer. You know, you've got winter, peri-winter, pseudo-winter. It's like, there's like 14 levels of winter before actual winter. And then you have your fake spring, and then you're almost spring or not quite winter. Here we are again. Now it's thawing. Just kidding. Those are all seasons in Michigan.
And if you lived in the Upper Peninsula.
Oh, yeah.
If you could, I mean, they have such a short, quote, summer.
Yes.
And they are having...
The UP summer is awesome. Last year it was on a Thursday.
I mean, we've had those conversations. That's a whole other world up there.
Yes.
And even living down here as long as we have, and we'll forever say that we're transplants, because we're not from here.
No.
You know, we lived here for some time, but this is not where we're from.
No. I still laugh at people when they talk, the winter, it's like, this snow was so bad. It's like, dude, it's 2 inches. you got 2 inches. Wait. It's like, I don't even break out. It's like, I won't break out a shovel for this. This is like, I'm not even slowing down. I'm still doing 80 on the way to work. It's just 2 inches.
Mentalities.
Yeah.
Mentalities. But back to fall. Thank you. Let you squirrel for a second.
Yeah, anyway,
come back.
Just saying.
Come back to me. So the point of my sharing this way was to express different sentiments, right? Moving forward, the fact that, that grief muscle's real, and it's always going to be there. And there are things I will hear or smell. You know, I ended up buying a cinnamon candle.
Mm-hmm.
It was on clearance, but it reminded me so much of my mom. It was just silly. It wasn't even something that, in the moment, it was like, why am I doing this? Because I haven't had a something in a little bit.
Yeah, nostalgia's something. Well, and not even nostalgia. Memory cues are a thing.
Yeah, we've talked about that. I have very strong ones in particular, and I miss my mom every day. And there's so many things in the last few months that, and in fact, I'll just share too. There was a conversation I had in my networking as I'm getting to know different people and meeting different pastors and business owners and letting them know that I'm here, right? I'm a counselor, Christian integrated counselor, and present, available, ready to go. And just discussing with a gentleman who, his mother is still alive, but she, had a bout with what they thought was cancer, and just his thoughts and feelings about that. And I ended it with letting him know that if actually, just in the realm of looking at positives, right? Because when this idea that we can't extract from miserable, horrible things, positive things, like you can. It's taken me a bit through time, but I have. And to let him know that if my mother had not passed away, I wouldn't be sitting in front of him. But this is how God chose to use it. And he was a pastor, and he understood what I was saying, and that's where we ended it. Because it's true. And we've talked about that in previous episodes. If she had not passed away, my life would not have taken the course that it did in the various branches and forks that led me to this moment with this perspective and this ability to have insight into numerous aspects of chronic illness and death and loss and pain and what it's like to heal. I would not have graduated. I would not have become a licensed professional counselor. I would not have been, started a practice. That's so many things that I know she'd be proud of. I do, but they wouldn't have happened. They wouldn't have. And that's a heavy thing. It's something that I ponder on from time to time. And all the great events that we've had with our daughters, and they're graduating and moving forward with their life, and a daughter that just turned 21, just.
Which is still a bit of a mind bender.
A little bit. And all the sentiments that my father used to say, even about how he'd be around to dance with her at her wedding. And it hurt me every time because I just knew that it wasn't true. It wasn't going to happen.
No.
I think he wanted to believe it.
Yes, he did.
And then my mother had no idea. Her end was so fast.
No.
There was no time to process that.
Not at all.
So in these years with fall, you're going to let me have it. Labor Day. Let's say Labor Day to New Year's. When I call my little monsters, my little grief monsters will pop up here and there and come and go. And I'll have some moments, some that are sad and some that are angry and kind of all over the board. And this was the first year that I realized I see them. I know they're there. I feel the presence, feel the tapping here and there, bought that candle. But it's this idea that we can have fun with it again, and it can be different, and it can be, even with the loss of our church and that, those memories and those routines and those things, that we can make it different. We can make it different for us and our family and then our grandchildren and that are down the line.
Down the road, yes.
Not right away.
Not right now, no. Not super longer, I would hope.
But then it's okay.
Yeah.
Yes, super long. I don't know. That's subjective in another topic.
Yeah.
But that it's okay.
Kind of jonesing, actually.
Oh, well, it's because you haven't seen the little boy in a
I need
while.
some baby time.
Oh, we're going to have to make some arrangements.
Yes.
To borrow somebody's kid.
Yep. Ooh, the neighbors. It's not here yet, but soon.
Oh, wow.
Soon. Yeah.
You're so funny.
Okay, got to get to know them better.
So funny. Wow. But anyway,
yes.
that it can. Just that it can, and I feel better about it. I probably feel the best about it I have in a while, and not that strange. We were in a cemetery last weekend, I think it was, or weekend before. We took a walk, which I do. I enjoy walking cemeteries, and you're picking up the flowers, and it was last weekend with our oldest. You pick up the flowers that fall over, and you just look around. And we happened to take her to one that she hadn't been to, and huge monuments, huge, gorgeous.
Yes, some
just
very,
even like
very
a gazebo.
Old, some older and some extensive pieces of work, which I still find impressive.
But and then some of them newer, right? And then babies.
Oh, yeah.
There was the baby section, and
yeah,
and just that moment, and I realized that maybe there's a part of me that enjoys cemeteries, so to speak, because it's just a connection in a way. This idea that I don't have somewhere to just visit my mother. And that's what that's for. That's what cemeteries are for. And even in our own planning, we had said we didn't necessarily want to be buried, and have that expense because, oh my goodness, headstones are not cheap. But, I realize it's not about that. And it's a discussion we'll continue to have. But there isn't somewhere to just go visit my mom.
Mm-mm.
So it is in what I do. It is in the moments to remember and create and honor her, and buy the candle once in a while, or the silly pumpkin thing, to decorate. I don't know if I could bake like her. I can't. I won't. I don't know. I can't say no, I won't, because I will have grandkids someday, but not right now. I know, but you know what? I'll never be able to bake like her. I will never be able.
You can't you can't throw caution to the wind like she did.
I can't. Just can't make myself put that much butter and stuff.
You turn your back, I'll do it for you.
Oh, butter and sugar.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to share.
Gotta make it good.
The story behind the jokes with spooky season,
yeah.
and where you and I differ in our opinion.
Sure.
But thank you for so graciously allowing me to use the word fall, even though you completely 100% disagree.
Yes, it's not fall. It is autumn-like.
Okay, will you agree that it's spooky season?
No.
See, you
And
you don't want anything.
No, for me, spooky season does not start until October 1st.
you're just holding to guns, and
Nope.
you're just
October 1st.
argue into argue. So I'm gonna let
An
you have
entire
yours.
31 days of spooky season is plenty.
But you let me break out the spooky season
Yeah,
dish towels and
you know
the
what?
shower curtain
It
and
makes
the
you
decorations.
you know what? If it puts a smile on your face, have at it.
And I don't know if we'll buy
I'm not
candy
saying
before that.
can't say I want to jump on board and get like super involved in that, but man, you want to do that, you tear it up. Tear it up, have a good old time. You do that. You have a good time with that.
You'll let me do me. That's nice.
Yeah, you do you.
That's so sweet of you.
Yeah.
So sweet of you.
I'm out.
That's the story. And now you've heard how the TISM rules my other half. But this is what I live with every day. He's so supportive, but just so argumentative. It's adorable.
Yeah.
God bless him. Okay.
Well, I try.
Well, you married me, so
I did.
You need all the blessings you can get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So
what are you gonna do?
I am done for the day.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
There'll be more fun things later.
Sure. Sounds like a plan.
Thank you for listening to all of that.
Oh. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had some fun with it.
Yeah.
Hey, one where I didn't do most of the talking. Yeah.
You got to have that once in a while.
It happens.
You got to. I'll let you have that once in a while.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You're welcome. So, I'm Fix It.
I'm Feel It.
We hope you join us in the future.
Until next week.
Hope you all have a great one.